Jonathan in Washington is going to start us off. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Hi, Dave. Thanks a lot for taking my call. I'm doing pretty good.
Good. How can I help today?
Well, I had a question for you. Just so you know, I just discovered you a couple months ago, and I made my mistakes with credit cards and buying too much car and all that good stuff, and took a second job. We're chipping away at paying off our debt.
Good.
Set up our cards.
How much have you paid off?
The thing is, slowly working away at it. We're still getting rolling through the baby steps. I got my my first emergency fund in place and just making extra payments on things. So yeah, it's still getting started. A couple thousand, I guess.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is I always, it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut when I'm talking to people. I want to tell all my friends and family, like, hey, don't be going into debt. Don't be borrowing money for anything. And the same thing I keep hearing is, oh, well, I have a credit card for emergencies, and it's great because I get points, and then I just pay it off every month. How am I supposed to convince people that that's still a bad idea to even have one, that they think they're getting some deal with points or miles?
Well, to start with, you're just getting started, so you don't really need to convince anybody.
Yeah.
You just need to do your thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like like a full-time job right there. So, but in basically the concept is this: if you get 1% back on your Discover card, that means that if you have $1,000 from Discover, you spent $100,000 to cause that to happen.
Yeah.
On what planet is that smart?
Yeah.
That we go through $100,000 to come up with one.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely asinine. And yet people walk around like they did something smart. There's nothing smart about that.
Yeah.
I get airline miles. Well, great. You think those are free? You think Santa Claus lives at the airline and the credit card company? Where do you think those airline miles come from, doofus? You're paying for them. That's where they come from. You know?
Yeah.
And so, to start with, you can hardly use the airline miles. Consumer Reports says 78% of airline miles are never redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they're never redeemed, you know what they're worth? Zero. And so your rationalization 78% of the time is stupid, which rationalizations are always stupid, but that just firms it up, right? The last thing is this: if you want to be a millionaire, you should ask millionaires what they do with money, not broke people.
Mm-hmm.
And millionaires, I've met with tens of thousands of them in 30 years. I have never met a millionaire that said, Dave, my financial breakthrough was those airline miles.
Yeah, makes sense.
They never say that. As a matter of fact, they never use credit cards. A few of them have credit cards. The vast majority don't. That's what our study shows. And even the ones that have them, not one of them says, oh, I do it for the airline miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's always broke people that say stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rich people don't say stuff like that. Broke people ask how much down, how much a month. Rich people ask how much.
Yeah.
Broke people have big screen big screen TVs. Zig Ziglar used to say, rich people have libraries.
Mm-hmm.
And just start thinking about, in other words, what is the value system, the character qualities, the habit patterns, and the uses of money that people that have wealth and have kept it use. And you want to emulate those, not what broke people do. So if you're just getting started, and if broke people make fun of your financial plan, it means you're right on track, my friend.
Okay, well, good to know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not having second thoughts about my cards, but I did the same thing. Oh, yeah, I'll use it for groceries and all this stuff and pay it off every month, and then it gets out of control.
It always does. And you spend more, by the way, when you spend with plastic.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't cash, when you use it, activates the pain centers of the brain. Plastic does not. Mm-hmm. So you just don't have an emotional connection. When you go on a cruise, you go to Disney World, they let your room key be your charge card all week. And that's so they can sell you an $8 ice cream cone.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about it. You're just like, wave the room key. because it does not activate the pain centers of the brain. It's low friction emotionally, and you buy more stuff. When you use a credit card instead of cash, you spend 12 to 18% more on the average purchase. On a smaller purchase, a lot more. Vending machines, 178% increase when they put in credit cards over cash. 178% increase. Would you like to increase your business 178%? Most of us would. Now, larger the item, the smaller the increase, right? But the average purchase is 12 to 18%. Fast food purchase is right around 40% increase with a card-using purchaser instead of a cash purchaser. When you spend cash at Mickey D's, you go, give me the kids' meal, right? When you spend your credit card, you're like, yeah, I'll take one of those with the apple pie, and I'll buy the guy behind me his. You just overspend your butt off because you don't emotionally register the expenditure. And I teach this for a living and have for 30 years, and I personally experienced this. I personally don't realize I'm spending money when I'm using even a debit card, because my debit card's got plenty of money in the account, so I can kind of do with it whatever I want, right? And so even in that case, when I'm on a cruise or I'm on a property where you can just use the card, you charge stuff to the room. It's the same thing. It's low friction emotionally. You don't think anything about it. And I did a purchase that should have been $15 when I was on that Australia trip. And when I got the bill at the end, it was an item that I pay $15 for. And when I got to the end of the stay at that location, it's my fault. I didn't ask. I didn't look. It's completely my fault. I got the bill as $115. I about had a coronary just because I was so stupid. I wouldn't have bought that any more than fly the moon. But I just like, oh, yeah, give me one of those. And, we're at dinner. Give me one of those. And, yeah, give me two of those. And, there's no emotional friction when there's not real money on the table. You don't register it. And that's the lesson that we've been teaching for a long time, Jonathan. And so really, really good question. And all of us that do marketing, we know that the more things you have to do in order to buy our product, a website that requires you to go through 5 hoops, that's called friction in the website world. If you have to go through 5 hoops to buy something, it gets too hard, you abandon the cart and walk away. Conversion rate goes down. And so that's why Amazon Prime is just making a freaking killing. You can just push that little button and you buy stuff and it shows up on your porch. You do not emotionally register the expenditure. You just boom, 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 boom. And they get those easy buttons. One of our friends' toddler hit the easy button 6 times. They got all this toilet paper on their front porch.